Hey guys, Scott here. You know what really sucks when you go to press stop recording and it says start recording? That's a fun thing. Anyway, here's this video not for the second time. Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about identifying good survivors. This is an extremely important skill that a killer has to have because you need to know to not chase these people at least around the start of the match. There's always a weaker link, and you need to identify the strong players, which means you're by default identifying the weaker players who are not the strong players. And the reason that's important is if you chase a good player around an unused map, you're going to have a bad time unless you're like Nurse Your Spirit. It's just not going to go well most of the time because there's only so much that mind games can do. However, you just need one slightly less experienced survivor that you can down. Once you down that person, they've probably created a bit of a dead zone in the area that you've been chasing them. And then when the better players come to save them, well, now they're in an area that's not that great. And, you know, the best player in the world can't do much if they have no pallets or anything to work with. So one of the biggest skills of Killer is minimizing the impact of the survivor skill, aka the spirit tech. So that is something very important, and I think identifying who is a good player at the beginning is very important as well, because you need to know to not chase them at the start. I like chasing them because I'm stupid and I think it's fun, but if you're trying to win, chasing the good survivors at the start is a terrible idea. So I don't go against that many actually very good survivors. It's pretty rare for anyone to go against a very good survivor. But I finally went against one, and I have some B-roll to finally show. Like, I wanted to make this video for a while, but I couldn't because I just didn't really go against good survivors that much. So now I finally got an example, and I can talk about what she does correctly and, things to look out for. So this is a short wall, long wall, whatever you want to call it. That's the type of tile this is. So the first important thing to note is right here, waiting at corners. A very good survivor will always wait at a corner. This minimizes the impact of any mind game a killer can have. And if it's a tile in which the corner would not save them, they tend to just drop the pallet early and avoid it entirely. So waiting at corners and tiles like this is the first hallmark of a good survivor. This makes it so even if you do a moonwalk like I did, like I'm still pretty close to her, but I'm just not close enough to where I can hit her. So she might not get as many loops out of it, but it's completely safe if you just wait at corners. So that's the first thing that will let you know that the survivor is good. For some reason, I thought this wall extended more, and I'm pretty sure they do in McMillan, but on Coldwind, they're just like shorter. So I was planning to bounce off that wall, but it ended up just not working out, which sucked for me. But this is the second thing to look out for. A good survivor will see an opportunity and take it to gain distance, not stay at the same loop. Any other survivor might continue looping that, and they'd be safe for a while, and they'd be totally fine. But they're just using that one tile. A very good survivor will realize that there are other things on the map, and as soon as they can gain a bit of distance, they will go towards that thing. They will also identify as they're running past other pallets that this pallet, for example, is not that safe. And part of a good survivor is knowing exactly how far away the killer is from you. And you basically, it's maximizing how much you can hold W and run forward before you have to begin looping. So she goes past this loop entirely, goes to this LLT wall here. And this is another example. So if she medium vaults this window here, she's dead. Because what I figured she was going to do is either take the window to my left, which I would have hit her here, or she's going to hug the wall to her right and then take that window, in which case she'd be medium vaulting and I would still hit her. However, she's fast vaulting here, which means she actually took a very wide angle to cover both of her bases. So if she took a very wide angle, she could actually go around the wall right here if she wanted to. Also, if she saw that I was going to be able to hit her in time, she could actually take this window instead with a fast vault. And that is very, very smart, covering both bases. And it's also the whole thing about angling fast vaults is really, really important. Being able to get that angle is vital because medium vaults leave basically a lingering hitbox for your character where you can still sort of be hit after you've taken the vault. With a fast vault, that's not the case unless it's very laggy. So being able to angle yourself for fast vaults is very important. So after I just barely missed her there because she does get the fast vault, she again runs past this tile because this one's not that great, and now we're right back here. So this is the main hallmark of a good survivor, is chaining tiles together. If I had to simplify identifying a good survivor in one sentence, it would be their ability to chain tiles together and run you for as long as possible while using as few resources as possible. Because, a rank 20 meg can run you for the same amount of time that this survivor can, but the meg will use every resource on the map, and this person will use one pallet. That's the difference. That's what identifies a good survivor. So she gets back here. No, she doesn't even have to drop the pallet yet because I'm still too far away. Now this time she knows that I'm going to hit her if she doesn't round the corner. So instead of taking the vault, she rounds the corner. And this basically prevents her. So now if I bounce off this wall, I won't be able to bounce off that, turn around, bounce off this, and hit her before she gets to the pallet. It'd be very close, but I'm willing to bet she gets to the pallet first. And then she finally drops the pallet. So that whole time, she's chained together 3 structures and used 1 pallet, which is very good. And again, she runs past this structure again because she knows it's not that safe and runs back to the LT wall that she knows she can chain together with. Here, I just screw up and miss the wall. That's not really anything she did. That's just me sucking ass. But after that, she runs back again and knows that she doesn't have to use that unsafe tile. And this is another thing that good survivors do. They will project themselves running a single direction, and then they will actually split vault to a different direction. This is very common when you're running Shack, for example. But here she's projecting that she's going this direction, so I'm going to do another bounce because if she goes that direction, I hit her. However, then she very quickly snaps back and then gets the fast vault. So knowing how to keep the momentum into a fast vault while still running another direction is very important because that makes me, again, just barely not hit her. I don't actually swing because I know I'm not going to hit her because it was a fast vault, but in this scenario, chasing this ace who just runs in front of me, every time it's a better idea. But I'm stupid. I like chasing good survivors, so I just ditch him and keep chasing this person because I think it's fun to watch. In fact, the only reason I downed her here is because she thought I was chasing the ace, and actually I caught her in an unsafe area. She didn't actually have a pallet to use. And that is the main way you down good survivors. You down them in areas that you can influence, by the way. You're not helpless. Survivors are not always at amazing structures. It's just impossible. As soon as you kick a single pallet, that area becomes dead, and now they're not in a good area anymore. That's why establishing regions around generators to be unsafe is extremely important against good survivors because it makes it so they have nothing to work with. And when they have nothing to work with, well, it doesn't matter how good they are. They just have nothing to work with. So that's one of the important things to look out for. There was like one other chase that I wanted to highlight where she did well. Yeah, it was right before this. And it's more just a thing of combining different structures together. So, running around this thing, you could run around here, take the window and run around that side. But instead of using that window and blocking it from entity blocker, she takes this window instead, which then chains into this tile. And she plays it very safe because I downed her here last time. And instead of looping this again, she takes the window because she knows she can gain a bit more distance out of it. And this is that whole chaining things together that's very important for a good survivor. And now since she knows I don't respect the pallet, she drops it immediately and gains even more distance there. And, honestly, the chase just keeps going. She knows exactly to not hug this corner because I can hit her over the wall. So that's a little minor thing that's sort of only relative to this map, but she is aware of it as well. This extremely unsafe pallet, she does the only correct play, which is just keep running. You can't play that pallet at all. Here, I could have actually M1'd her, but I assumed she had dead hard. So that was me just being stupid. Well, it wasn't being stupid. A lot of good players run dead hard, so I assumed she was going to dead hard to the window. That's why I readied my charge, because if I charged, she would not be able to make it to the window even with dead hard. But I guess she knew that I was going to assume that and took the window instead, which gave her a little bit of extra time. Here, I screw up again. I could have bounced off this hay bale and hit her. Like, I just forgot from 2 seconds ago she dropped this pallet, so this is more just me playing like a fucking idiot than actually her doing anything amazing, but she finally goes down here. But yeah, I just wanted to show a survivor like that. It's a good example of how to chain things together. And if you see survivors not chucking pallets right away, instead they're chaining things together like that, they're being very efficient but still running you for the same amount of time. Typically, you want to dip chase on them and find someone else in a less safe area or find someone less experienced, because I promise that scenario is active somewhere. You just have to go find it. And it can be hard finding it. And sometimes you don't find exactly what you're looking for and you're not any better off than you were. But it's almost always better to look for that situation than keep chasing extremely good survivors, unless you're Nurse or Spirit or whatever, or like Hag with a good setup. And then, yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. You're just going to down them anyway. But for the most part, in those scenarios, that is how to identify a good survivor. So Project Infinity, you played very well, man. I think I said something to you after the game as well. I think you were in my stream. But yeah, very well played. He was on console too, which actually blew my mind. It's probably the best console player I've ever seen. So that was not a dig at console. It's just like harder to look behind you and stuff when you're playing console. So yeah, he did really well. And yeah, I just finally had some footage to show what a good survivor can do and how to identify that and how to basically know to not chase that person at the beginning, because I promise there's not 4 of them on the team you're going against. They may feel like it, but it's just not. Unless you're actually going against a competitive team somehow, which is probably 1 in 1,000 games, you're not having 4 of these on a team. It might feel like it, I promise. You're not actually going against 4. You just have to find the slightly weaker link. I'm not saying it has to be a rank 20 meg that runs into walls. You just need someone that's just slightly not as good. That's it. And then you basically play the game around the unsafe stuff that they make. But that is basically it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.